Well, hello, good morning, America. No, please don't sing, Phelim. Everything was going so well until you did that.
Okay.
What a wonderful morning. What a
Yes.
wonderful day. We're recording, unusually we're recording on Wednesday,
Yes.
as live. Amazing night, amazing morning.
We've had 2 hours sleep.
We've had 2 hours sleep, so any kind of nonsense, please forgive us. But
Yeah.
we did go to our very cool coffee shop this morning, I have to
Yes.
say.
Yes.
And it was...
And I just want to set the context. We actually live by accident, or maybe just that's the way we are,
Just forget that.
right beside one of the coolest coffee shops in Los Angeles.
Yeah, our coffee shop went viral because
Yes.
it's so cool.
Yes.
So we went there this morning, and I have to say it was a sight to behold. Nobody was crying. Nobody actually cried.
Funny, I think I met someone who was crying.
Oh,
yes,
gosh.
she came out of the exercise room beside the coffee shop, and maybe she was just crying about the exercise, but there was definitely tears now. And we basically want to spend all day jumping from coffee shop to coffee shop, looking at the glum faces. I mean, obviously great news. Now there was it wasn't all good news. A lot
Correct.
of the big abortion referendums initiatives were lost. Some were won. We'll bring you the details of those. But first, as we record this, Kamala has not conceded that.
It's unbelievable. It's so classless, by the way. And these are the very people, the Democrats, who talked about, the peaceful transition of power and doing all the things all very correctly.
How Trump was going to destroy norms and basic
But also
values.
walking out on her supporters last night was kind of extraordinary. And, you have to realize those people, I mean, those are the people who walked, door to door for her and worked for her, volunteered for her, did all of that. And
Yes.
she just doesn't even bother turning up to talk to them, to give them any kind of words of solace.
and
then
do
this
a
morning,
cackle or two.
and then this morning, I mean, it's the middle of the day on the East Coast, and she hasn't appeared yet. Extraordinary.
Yeah.
She hasn't phoned Trump, nor, by the way, has President Joe Biden phoned President to be again Trump, which is and I think one of my big takeouts from last night, and one of the things that I feel most strongly about, was it needed to be a blowout. It needed to be decisive. There needed to be no air around it. There needed to be no question about it. And there
You
was
got your wish.
Yes.
Let's zero room for doubt. Popular vote, electoral college, Senate, and as we're talking here, probably the House.
Oh my God.
Um,
And one thing I said to you, just talking about to you earlier, Phelim, was at the coffee shop, I was sort of saying basically, I'm really hoping that this didn't turn out to be like something like what happened with Boris Johnson in the UK, who had a fantastic win, a conservative sweep across the UK.
He had a record win. I think it was in 2019. I'm just checking that.
And he blew it. He completely blew it. So
he did. He completely blew it. Like it was a realignment. And talk about realignment. That was an incredible realignment. They won seats of the leftist Labour Party. The Conservatives won seats of the leftist Labour Party that had never been won before.
So we can't be complacent, but we are just extremely hopeful. I think it's a very, very hopeful and optimistic day in America for so many people.
President Trump, can I just say something?
All the garbage people who were forgotten about.
Yes. Can I just say something to President Trump?
You can, Phelim.
Look, President Trump, you were elected to win. Yeah, to win. To end illegal immigration. So build the bloody wall. Okay,
Yeah.
build the wall.
Build the wall.
Build the wall. I don't care who pays for it this time.
Yes.
Just build the wall.
And deport people who are here illegally.
Please.
People who are here illegally, because those of us who are here illegally went to a lot of trouble to have
and
that
a lot
happen.
of money. So build a wall, deport the criminals, and then deport the illegals. If they want to try and come back in, do like we did, spend 5 months in Dublin recently to get a visa. That is the price to pay. We shouldn't have to pay that big price. So please, President Trump, remember who elected you and why they elected you. Ban the Kardashians from the White House, ban the celebrities, ban the hangers-on. There was a slight celebrity element to the last Trump presidency that I didn't like. Remember who elected you, and you'll be fine. And J.D. Vance or Ron DeSantis, who will be the 2028 candidate, will be fine also. This is realignment is a word often overused. This is a realignment. Hillary.
So people have spoken.
Yeah, and you saw. Last night at the Trump headquarters, they sang how great thou art.
They spontaneously started singing Christian hymns, and I think there was something really quite extraordinary in that, because I think
look at the camera here. Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
I am looking at the camera film. And there's a reason, and there was something quite extraordinary about that they spontaneously started singing these Christian
Yep.
hymns, because Kamala, obviously, at her rally, when somebody shouted out "Jesus is Lord,"
Yes.
she had basically said, "I think you're at the wrong rally," and I think you made the point, Philip. I don't think she ever mentioned God at all, and she chose not to turn up at the what's it called?
The Al Smith dinner.
The Al Smith dinner.
Which is the big Catholic dinner where you're supposed to roast your opponent, and it's all very nice and raises money for charity. Not showing up at the Al Smith dinner is not the biggest crime. If it was just the one thing, but not mentioning God. I mean, the Catholic establishment in New York, we can say this, we're Catholics, they're not very religious. They're not very Catholic. They're very, they're they're a bit star bleepery.
Well, the Al Smith dinner, I think, is a very specific. It's a very specific occasion, but
I wouldn't call it very Catholic. Right?
No, it's not very Catholic, but at the same time, it's protocol, it's norms, it's what people do, and she didn't do these things. It's the same thing as her not going on the Joe Rogan show. She had this amazing opportunity. Imagine having the opportunity to get your story out for 3 hours, and you say, "Nah, you know what? I'm not going to do that."
Yes.
This is extraordinary. But I think one of the points, and actually we talked to Magda earlier, our colleague Magda, and she's making a really important point that I think everyone needs to focus on today. And we don't have an answer to this, but it is very, very interesting. 15 million, the 15 million vote deficit. So in the total number of votes from 2020 to 2024, this is very, very bizarre.
Weird.
So
talk about weird. They tried to say that the Republican campaign was weird and the Republicans were weird. The weird thing is what happened to 15 million missing votes?
Yeah.
Why did 15 million people vote in 2020 that didn't vote in 2024?
Yeah. There's something strange there.
Something strange there.
And I mean, I was making the point, they haven't counted all the votes yet, but 15 million is not a few votes. This is extraordinary. And questions need to be asked, and questions need to be answered.
I have to say, it was an extraordinary election. I mean, in many ways, like Kamala Harris did worse with women than Groper Biden did. Who knew groping women and sniffing their hair was the way to
attract women?
To attract women.
Well, there's another way, and maybe there's another way of asking that. Maybe there's another way of turning that, and the other way of turning that is by defining women as people who really, they're really, the only thing they really want to do is kill their babies. By defining women by that one issue and saying that this is the women, women, whatever, to make it, guess what, Kamala? Most women don't feel like that. Most women don't think like that. Most women think that motherhood is fabulous. Most women, don't want to destroy their own children. And that's actually, it's more, that's the exception, not the norm. And she flipped that on its head. Yeah, and she was wrong.
Now, the granny wanting to kill their grandchildren, it is a constituency.
They're there.
They're there. But
we live among them.
We live among them.
Yes, they're in our neighborhood.
Yes. It's very interesting. So women didn't get on the women train, I mean, it's hilarious. America, in the UK, where I come from, you come from the Republic of Ireland. In the UK, like we've had so many women prime ministers, you could name them all now and forget one. You could, if somebody said to me, name all the British women prime minister, I go, and I might forget one of those.
Yeah, I think you're making a really good point, because if you think in the UK, they've had, they had Margaret Thatcher. I mean, now they have Kemi Bendock, who's also very, very impressive. No one's that's not a world news story. This is a black woman who is now the leader of the opposition, of the Conservatives in the United Kingdom. It's a huge deal, but of course she has the wrong politics, so nobody makes a big deal of it at all. And I think somebody was saying like this is the first people have rejected having a woman in the White House. No, people have rejected having that woman in the White House. And I think even for me it's really hard to imagine the most liberal woman to be proud of that woman and want that woman who couldn't express herself, couldn't explain any of her policies, basically ran from the media, wouldn't do interviews, had to be cajoled into doing interviews. And then when she did do them, like with Brett Baer, kept saying, I need this to end now, basically. Yes. Her people constantly wanted it to end.
Waving in the back. I mean, it's like...
Most politicians, it's exactly the opposite. It's like, you need to stop talking now. No, not in her case. I mean, with Trump, you can't shut the man up.
Where were they running off to? Like, I mean, they wanted the thing to end because they didn't trust their candidate, and maybe for good reasons. They didn't trust their candidate to talk at length about anything because they knew there'd be a gaffe, and that's why she couldn't go on the Joe Rogan show. which is kind of sad in some ways.
I know
It's not a great advertisement for a woman.
You want to run. You want to run them. You want to be. The president of the most significant country on the planet Earth, and you can't talk to Joe Rogan for 3 hours. Joe Rogan, by the way, not a PhD in astrophysics or anything, just a regular guy. Actually, obviously not regular in any way, but
not an ambush journalist by any means.
No,
not a particularly. By the way, not a particularly well informed journalist. And I mean that in the.
So he'd be open. He'd be open.
He's open. Yeah. I mean that in the nicest way. He doesn't. He's not there to ambush. He's not there to say in 2016 you said this. He's actually he throws out these. You could almost call them softball questions. These wide open questions. What's your favorite color? What do you think about those?
You like turkey?
Yeah. What do you think about those Giants or those Penguins or whatever the football team is or whatever? Right. And and then lets you talk. And I think for her advisors that was the worst possible thing. She could almost filibuster policy questions and get it back to her message, and that would just be boring for 3 hours.
Just another. I mean, I think another point that's really important about this election is it's the death of legacy media. They've been destroyed in this and it's very interesting to observe Europeans. By the way, and in our case, we have a close relationship with Ireland and the UK, so we're very, we're very conscious of what they've been hearing, and the shock and horror amongst the populations there because of the fact that they heard nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They've been fed this story, drip fed this one story for months and months and months. And so that now out of the blue, the Nazi has been elected, but not just elected, like overwhelmingly elected by everybody, and every possible group he has increased.
Even the Latinos.
Like everybody. So suddenly they're trying to process this, and it's like they're having this massive brain freeze. They can't get their head around it.
So in 2020, Trump lost Latino men by 23 points. In 2024, he won them by 8 points. And this was after. This comes back to the fake news media, the legacy media, as we call them. They told us the Puerto Rico joke. Was
the end of it.
That's the end of him with the Latino vote. And look, it's almost racist that I don't know much about the Latino community, right? But I know Ireland, right? I know that if someone makes a joke about how awful Cork people are, right, for example, most of Ireland would laugh and agree.
And
right?
even the Cork people.
Yes, and some Cork people, right? It's the reason why I'm not living in Cork anymore. And by the way, I can put my own county in that. My own county is a very unpopular county, Tyrone. Everyone hates it. Dublin's very unpopular. These unpopular counties. I'm
from a very cool county.
Yes, Dublin is full of snobs and gougers. Cork is full of weirdos, and Tyrone is full of angry people, right? That's what we're known
including
as.
yourself, though.
Yes, angry bleepholes, right? And if anybody was to say anything nasty about Tyrone, people would kind of laugh and agree. The idea that all of Ireland would be outraged on behalf of Tyrone people, a complete joke. So the idea that all the Latinos would be outraged on behalf of Puerto Ricans and Puerto Rico.
Well, actually, it's funny. Actually, we had a Latino watching the election with us last night,
yes.
And I don't know, but he said at one stage, none of the Latinos like the Puerto Ricans anyway.
That's right. And he says, and the Puerto Ricans in America don't like the Puerto Ricans either, and don't like Puerto Rico. That's why they're in America. So,
okay.
But we were told this was going to be fatal. And even, by the way, that this is not good. The Trump campaign kind of fell for it and issued an apology. And that's a sign, that old habits die hard, and the people running the campaign and the people running in the administration, don't fall for that trap. Don't fall for that.
But there's a lot of one of the things that's very pleasant to do today for those of us who are on the winning side. It's very, very pleasant to go on social media and watch how the left are just falling to pieces. And I think I love this tweet and you'll all remember that we did, of course, the climate change trial, went to Washington, D.C. to watch Mark Stein defend himself against Michael Mann, the climate scientist from the University of Pennsylvania who tried to sue him into oblivion.
Yes.
But Michael Mann is very upset today. Now, he's very, very upset today. And
Professor Michael
Mann to you from the University of Pennsylvania. He said, so here's what he tweeted. America is a failed democracy. And actually, last night, it's exactly the opposite of that. It's
Yes.
exactly the opposite of that. The thing worked so well that they had a result on the night. Our media failed us. I actually agree with that now.
Yes.
Actually, I do agree with that because they told a story that was completely wrong. Our institutions failed us.
Yeah.
Our people failed us.
Our
Oh,
people.
people. Oh, yeah.
Our
There's your
people
garbage.
failed us.
There's your garbage.
That's your garbage. It's
First of all, we now pose a major threat to the planet. First of all, we know. I think he was.
Yes.
I think he may have been, maybe consuming alcohol when he wrote that because it's not the best English.
there's
But
so
first
much,
of all,
so much garbage out there. And by the way, it's not in Puerto Rico.
Oh dear.
Um,
and by the way, the memes just they can't come enough of them. And I would like to make one other before we go on to the abortion. I would like to make a little homage, by the way, to Peanut the squirrel, R.I.P. Rest in peace, Peanut, and Fred the raccoon, who doesn't get as much attention, but we understand why. But Peanut,
raccoons are human.
Peanut,
too.
you played your role.
Yes.
The country is grateful to you. You focused the minds of maybe some voters who suddenly realised, oh my God, I understand the difference between the left and the right for the first time, because that's exactly what Peanut represented. And I think statues may have to be erected to Peanut, and songs may have to be written in praise of, because Peanut reminded everyone of the difference between the right and the left.
Yes.
The difference between people who want freedom and people who want the government to control every aspect of their lives inside the house, in the fridge, in the fridge, in
the special pets. Peanut room. Peanut had his own room in the house.
This could have so easily happened to us, by the way, because we, as possibly some of you know, have a very big affection for possums, and we feed possums and regularly. And we've had Blossom, as many of you remember, Blossom a couple of years ago, who became almost a family pet. And he
came into the house.
He used to come into the house, and he would not. We could stand right beside him while he was having his dinner. And of course, the great thing about possums is they eat everything. I'm not going to get into that, but I just want to say, shout out for Peanut at this particular time. We're a grateful nation.
Yes. Rest in peace, Peanut.
Now, on the sad side, on the kind of the less impressive side of yesterday, so there were these ballot initiatives, as you probably know, nine states plus the District of Columbia, and basically, abortion won, life won, babies won in South Dakota, Florida, and Nebraska. But lost in 7.
Well, the 6 states and DC.
6 states and DC. And basically, we're going to very quickly go through them. But basically, what the pro-abortion people have achieved is to further extend and expand abortion in these states. And by extending, we're saying in many, many cases, up to 9 months.
And don't believe, it's only up to the point of viability.
You have to read the small print.
Read the small print. So, for example, Missouri, it was, abortion is now protected. You can't have an abortion after the age of viability, except to protect the health of the mother. And the health means if the mother says she's depressed or upset or unhappy, or it's going to affect her long term. So it's basically abortion up to 9 months.
And basically exactly the same as what Phelim said. Arizona, Proposition 139, where they permit abortion up to the point of fetal viability around 24 weeks of pregnancy. But also permitted past that point to protect the life or physical or mental health of the mother. In other words, for any reason at all. And the same has happened. Colorado already had an extreme abortion law in place up to 9 months for any reason at all. What they've now done in Colorado is they've further extended that by having it in the Constitution in Colorado, and they've added that the state of Colorado will pay for it, which I think for some taxpayers in Colorado that could be a little bit of an issue. Yeah. Maryland again had already had up to 9 months for any reason. And again, they've just established that in the Constitution.
Montana is the same. Montana, Nevada, constitutional right to abortion. New York is the same. New York already has 9 months, and now it's in the Constitution. So a lot of work to be done there. A lot of work to be done there.
But the glimmer of hope is what happened in Florida. And my read of Florida is that it was Governor Ron DeSantis who put himself right in the middle of it and went out and defended life.
When he was told not to, when he was told this is going to damage you, this is going to damage the Trump vote, we could lose Florida over it, he went ahead and did it. So it's going to be very interesting, actually, looking forward to 2028. Who's going to be the candidate? Will it be J.D. Vance, or will it be Ron DeSantis? Or will it be someone else? Will it be Tulsi Gabbard?
But for today and for now, and we're going to keep this as a very short podcast,
Yes.
enjoy your day, enjoy your freedom. Think about Peanut when you're having your celebratory glass of wine or a cup of coffee.
Yes.
Think about Peanut and think about, Fred. Let's mention Fred as well. And what an amazing night. And this was actually, when people talk about democracy being on the line,
Yes.
this was democracy in action. And what was brilliant about it was voting should be on one day.
Yes.
People should watch it in real time. It should end on the one day.
Yes.
And this happened, which is some kind of miracle. We had a wonderful night last night. We had a bunch of friends over.
Yeah,
it was really, really very special.
Isn't that showing you the state of American democracy? Where we're amazed at the result. Now, it wasn't on the same day, but it was into the night. It was the middle of the night. Some places when the result was finally announced. Although CNN were being
oh my God,
the
CNN.
mainstream media again were being complete bleep holes, not calling it when it was obvious that at one stage Trump was 3 votes away from on the CNN and NBC, 3 votes away from winning the Electoral College. And Alaska was there, outstanding. Well, he's going to win Alaska. Everyone, 25% of the vote in, and he's well ahead. But they wouldn't call it, and they just would not call it. It was great that it was all over in the one day. That people have to face up to it. It's great. It also meant that the nightmare scenario would be that it was called like now in the middle of the second day, and then that would set the rioting up for tonight. Hopefully there will be no rioting.
We'll see. There was some difficulties in Seattle last night. Right. We heard that, and the cops broke it up quite early on. We're going to stop for right now. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your week. We
talk to you soon.
We deserve this.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.